All the studies show screen time, all the computers, lowering IQs, lowering fertility, lowering our health.
Okay, let me stop you right there. Is that a case? Is that a case of, is somebody holding a gun to your head? Let me tell you about me. I'm addicted to this goddamn thing. I love watching YouTube videos. I love taking pictures of shit. I love looking things up.
It interfaces you with humanity. It does a lot of beautiful things.
It does, but I'll tell you, they're very addictive. They're very addictive. But hold on a second. Let me stop you right there. I don't necessarily think that's engineered to be addictive. I think it's engineered to be really well, and work really well, and the fact that it works really well is very addictive. Just like little kids look at a screen. You put a fucking television in front of them when they're 1 year old and play some stupid commercial, and they're like, whoa.
But Joe, they picked a frequency.
But hold on a second. No, they did not. No, they made better. Hold on a second. They made better and better technology that we're not designed to absorb. Human beings have the exact same DNA. We have the exact same DNA that we did 10,000 years ago. Back when there was nothing like television, there was nothing like movies, there was nothing like stereo headphones and projectors.
Listen, don't you
please. I'll let you go on your crazy rant. Hold on, please. You're interrupting my crazy rant. I am telling you that this is a natural progression of this massive infatuation that we have with technology. They don't have to engineer it. It's natural. It happens to you. It happens to me. It happens to anybody who's looking at cooler and cooler special effects in movies. All that stuff is a natural thing.
And Steve Jobs wouldn't let his kids play with an iPad.
Well,
okay, I wanted to give an answer to Joe Rogan's statement in which he was in a podcast with Alex Jones, and the topic came up that Alex Jones said that technology would have been is at some point a interdimensional alien insert into the evolution of humanity, and that it's taking us further and further away from ourselves and all of that. And then Joe Rogan made a kind of a passionate plea to the fact that he saw that technology was, he felt it's not something alien, but that he was very passionate about it. And that everybody is passionate about it, and everybody wants the next phone and the next gig and the next app. And everybody is like, following this stuff no matter what. And he was like making the plea that it's something internal to us in our own nature that is developing this stuff. And I felt that Alex Jones couldn't really address that point. I think he did get it right that to a certain degree what is now what we now call technology is indeed fostering a sort of an alien evolution. What I wanted to say to this is that the reason why technology is, we are so passionate about it. And before I say that, I wanted to also say that right before the taping this, we were listening to some beats, and right before going in, there was a beat. The title of the beat was that nature is the true technology. The true technology is nature, and it's very synchronistic that was exactly playing at the moment that we wanted to record some of this, and that ties into my answer to Rogan, is that we are passionate about this stuff because it is in a externalized fashion really what the self-evolution is all about. But the problem is that within the current way it's being evolved, which is via machinery, it is all happening in external terms, but we do recognize that it is a simile to what the true technology is and is supposed to be. I wanted to speak to that a little bit because the true technology would be, you see, what we call nature is really the self-archetype. It's important to explain this because, so yes, we are passionate about the fact that, we have the ability, for instance, to, like I saw today, via somebody else visit a conference in Japan, because I saw a video where, somebody can basically visit somewhere via somebody else, because then they would sort of wear some kind of a gear in which the person would be able to sort of walk along with them, visit in that conference as if it was themselves, but then virtually. So of course we're passionate about that and of course we're passionate about the whole idea of downloading knowledge straight to the brain and all of that. The point is that it's all an externalized, sort of upside down version of what the true self technology is supposed to be about. So we, at some point, we feel that it is, you know, what we are meant to be, but it is not the real inside out thing. It's externalized, and it is done in a way that the more we depend on it externally, the more we deplete it internally. Like I was explaining someone today, the mind, the brain is wired to produce DMT. The mind, the pineal gland is wired, you know, to produce psychedelics. But if you use it on the outside, you stop creating it from the inside. If you use it wrong, not if you don't. It's not about. You need to be very careful to not go into a controlled opposition about this stuff, because it's not like don't use it outside. It's about use it as a support to the self process. Don't use it as a way to depend on it externally. Equally, we have a cannabinoid receptor system because the body creates, obviously, whatever cannabis is creating. So the pharmacy is inside, and of course, all of the developments of what we see that cannabis can do and cannot do are very exciting, and we're very passionate about it because it's reminding us of the fact that we have those things inside of us. We have the pharmacy in us, and it's not like now we go into full abstinence of it outside, but then you use it. For instance, to use the simile, seafood is very powerful, but if it is used while we are having cell food, but it can also be used as a replacement, and then it doesn't support anymore. Then it will work against you. Equally, technology is very much like the chemicals. The same way we can use it externally as chemical, which is deadly for the body, because we know that the psychiatric drugs destroy the organs. Equally, we have it internally, naturally, in terms of the way the pineal gland can create DMT, or the nervous system can create cannabis, internal cannabis. We need to use the same idea to explain Rogan, that the real technology is internal, and it doesn't mean we go into abstinence of it externally. But the whole idea is that, for instance, the external technology is really like a cartoon version of what we really have inside ourselves. Because the human being has the capacity to be telepathically wired within a deep connectivity to everything and everyone. You see that it becomes sort of really Frankensteinian when you have to put on all of these gadgets and insert all kind of stuff into your body to merge with some kind of a machine to be able to do that. And it's not even doing the real thing, because no matter what, it remains based on causality. While the true technology of the quantum technology of the self is able to do all of that stuff without the gadgetry. So it's not like now we're saying, you need to go into some cold turkey regarding technology because it's so highly addictive. It is that it is to see that what we now are looking at as technology, and already we are so passionate about that, is because it's reminding us of the quantum technology of the self. And that the self is wired to really do the real magic. But for that, we need to fully connect to what we call an unconditionality to the self, which will unfold the self. The self unfoldment would mean that we would be able to do miracles. So we're passionate about this stuff because it's reminding us of our ability to perform miracles. That's why we're passionate about it. Because in the Bible, and everybody knows I'm a rogue biblical scholar because I look at it all fully separate from the institution. But in the Bible, Jesus said, "Ye shall do greater things than I." And he walked on water, and he fed the poor from nothing, and he brought the dead back. And ever since, we have Marvel comics that are trying to, look at the superhero archetype because of this. But the point is, we're passionate about it because it reminds us that we are that, but in the true version of it. So yes, the human being is able to bilocate. We don't need to put some television set on somebody's head and via wires, walk along with them as some telephone. The human being is quantum technology, and what we know is that it's been abused in the darker circles for the very warfare against the human being itself. So it's not that they haven't developed this stuff, but what we're seeing in terms of technology and the AI, look, the AI is really the unconscious, you see? The AI is really the unconscious, but then in the upside down version of it, and so it's not the artificial, what we call artificial intelligence is really the wisdom of God. Artificial intelligence would then be the true wisdom, and we know the wisdom of God is the Sophia Sapienta, which is the collective selves of selves, which are called the words uttered by the breath of God. So what we're talking about here is that the human being is not made in the image of God, but we were made by the very God substance. We are made by the substance that God is. So the body is not physical. The body is, to call the body physical is a product of the mind that is split, looking at mind versus body and all of that. The body is just the top of the iceberg of a quantum wave, the part of it that is showing up in space and time, but it's really just the top of the iceberg, so the true self would be that underlying wave, which has no limits. So yes, we're passionate about this stuff because it's reminding us that we are the unlimited quantum technology, and we are the real pharmacy, and we have it all inside of us, and we can bilocate, and we can be in telepathic connectivity with everything, and we could basically eventually pull stuff out of thin air, next to which the 3D printer is a cartoon, is a joke. That's the answer to Joe Rogan. Yes, we're passionate about it, and we shouldn't go in a controlled opposition with technology. We just need to see that it's at some level an externalized version of what we really are, but we've gotten lost in it, and we've stopped developing it on the inside. The real development of the real technology, where the human being can not only fly, of course, but could bilocate and could interdimensionally travel and do time travel. We know all of this is possible, but it's been developed away from the true program. But what I wanted to end with is that you cannot pimp God. We are made of the substance of what we call God. This is why they're talking about the God particles and all of that being, these particles that are in our atoms. And they're looking at it all upside down. But the point is, we are, what we call the self is the God particle. And what we call God is the self of the self. So our self, which is the breath uttered by the mouth of God, is the God particle. But you can't pimp it. And this is where it all went wrong. We have wanted and allowed ourselves somewhat to be deceived into trying to achieve all of this stuff, but in a way that is separate from the true program, meaning you cannot pimp it. You cannot do it just for consequences or results. You cannot do this. You can't say I want to develop my psychic abilities loose from the self. That's where the New Age went fully off. It has to be in terms of the unfolding of the self or core of who you are, and that unconditionality towards self has as its side effects these psychic paranormal abilities that you see in X-Men and Marvel and all of that, but in a cancerous form, meaning in a growth form that has no order to it. And then you get these X people that have these gifts, but it's completely erratic and hectic and off. They don't know how to do it. If we do it according to the true program of individuation, which is the stairway to the self archetype, which is the God particle of which we are built, then we automatically go into that true quantum magical technology, which is where we regenerate, where there's no aging, where time and space, all of this stuff. We are passionate about technology because it's reminding us that time and space is relative, that it doesn't exist. And yes, the so-called elite are obsessed with eternity, living forever and all of that. but they have harnessed and harvested it in an illegal way. And yes, we know now these child abuse rings and these children are very, very close to the core. This is why Jesus said, bring them to me. The child is still in that heavenly state, which is before energy becomes matter, if you wish. And that's what they try to harness by using these children and abusing them and all of it, because it just keeps getting worse and worse, because they have gone this track as zombies, meaning by trying to get it all from the outside. Via doing that, they have destroyed their innate ability to produce this thing, and so they've become fully dependent on it on the outside to create that longevity that they want, because it's our birthright, but they have lost themselves in the search for this, and then in the theft of the self, which would be the theft of the blood, and which all of these conspiracy guys don't really get what it is, because it's not some thing that they think it is. It's the blood that, of course, everybody prays for in the church. You know, if you look at the church, people pray for the blood of the Christ to heal all ills and all of that. But it's become theft. They've tried to steal these gifts, these divine gifts that are inherent in the human and in the self. The legal way is individuation via shadow work to find the miracle in the self. But then the self uses you. You don't use the self. You need to be unconditional towards your true self. And then the miracle supports everything. You cannot have the miracle without the self. And the self means that we surrender via shadow work to who we truly are and allow the self to unfold.